Welcome back to another daily walk. Hopefully you can hear me. If you can, this is the very first time I've ever gotten good audio out of this mic. It turns out you have to use it when it's extraordinarily windy. No other mic that I have is going to pick up me over the wind. This one looks like it might work. We're going to give it a try. And if I need to take two this later, that's fine. Well, today we want to talk about the Ottawa, Canada Freedom Rally with all the truckers up there and how that might possibly relate to Christianity. The fact of the matter is, the truckers are out there and they are protesting not just vaccine mandates, they're protesting vaccine mandates, they're protesting liberties, freedoms, a lot of other things that the rest of us should be taking for granted. And what's even funnier is that this is happening in Canada, of all places, which is always known as one of the nicest and safest and most, I don't want to say doormat type people, but oftentimes that's how they're characterized. As people, they're just too nice to put up with anything, and so a whole lot of people gather together. Now, of course, if you watch the mainstream media, you know that every single one of them, they are racist, misogynist, white supremacist, and throw in every other, transphobic, homophobic, throw in every other buzzword of insanity of our modern day, because all that the mainstream media wants to do is simply they simply want to discredit this whole movement. But the fact of the matter is this movement is very important, and we as a society needs to embrace it, because these are the people that are getting done. All this, and then this is funny. If you watch Viva Fry's stream, he actually went out and found the counter-protesters, all 15 of them or something. And when you listen to their arguments, he's asking real good questions. The one's like, well, we need to listen to the government. He says, well, do you not know that the vaccine companies cannot be held liable in the event that these vaccines damage people? And they're like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, yeah, there is total immunity. Are you aware of that? Does that change your position? Well, they should do what the government says. It is really funny to watch all the counter protesters and hear their arguments, and it was a bunch of nonsense. It was weird. Now, how does all this relate to Christianity? Well, the truckers have had enough, and they are sitting down and they are doing everything that they can possibly do in order to make their voices heard. As Christians, we need to recognize the need to do a lot of the same things from the social perspective. Now, I'm not a person that buys into the idea that we as Christians need to work towards building a social order of improving the world. There is a theology that says that the world must get better, better, and better, and better, and then when the world is finally better, then Christ is going to return. I reject that idea. The Bible's pretty clear. The world's going to get worse before Christ returns. But still, looking at Matthew, is it chapter 5, I think. I'll put the verses here. We are the salt and we are the light. The purpose of this principle is that as salt, we are the preserving nature of the culture. As light, we are the guiding light, the guiding principles of the culture. And these are the things that we need to look into. So, in other words, we have to look at what's going on in the world, and we have to say, we have to focus on the things that are going to preserve the world. Now, I'll be doing a daily walk on this in a few more months after I'm thinking through this idea, but I want to think about the idea of freedom of religion. And this was a neat one because in the freedom of religion aspects, obviously we say, yeah, freedom of the religion. You want to be a Muslim, that's fine. You want to be a pagan, that's fine. You want to be a saint worshiper, that's fine. You want to be a Christian, that's fine. And as long as everyone is allowed to have their own argument, then we are all fine with that. Is that a valid point or not? And this is something I'm thinking about on multiple points of view. But that being said, we as Christians, we have to stand up for our society, and wherever we can align in such a way as to bring order and peace and freedom back in, that's what we need to do, because that is the element of Christ. Christ came and died on the cross that we would be set free. And we are not set free when we are under the hard thumb of tyrants. All right, now, yes, Christianity does have some verses. Romans, we talked about before, you shall obey your rulers and authorities. Titus has some sections about that, obey your rulers and authorities. The fact of the matter is, yes, we are to obey our rulers and authorities, but we also have to recognize that in a lot of the modern countries, the rulers and the authorities is not the people in power, it is the founding charters that create the countries, excuse me. So in the United States, this is the Constitution. When our politicians are going explicitly against the Constitution, we have the obligation to stand up for the Constitution, because that is what our country is based on. Not the politicians. The Constitution is our guiding principles. The politician's job is to make sure that the Constitution is followed, but in many cases right now they're not. In Canada, where this is going on, they have a Charter of Human Rights. Also, all the EU countries have a Charter of Human Rights. These are supposed to take precedence over any rulers in any democratic society. And that is the principle. So as Christians, we should embrace what they're doing. Now, here is where on Stexenhammer, where his analysis tells him, hey, you guys messed up in using GoFundMe, because GoFundMe is a political organization. They will completely put anything left-wing on there that they can and put it on the front page. Hey, get all the anarchists out of prison because they were arrested for burning down every Wendy's in the country. Yeah, we'll fundraise to get that, but we won't fundraise for a person who is literally found innocent when he was defending himself in one of those riots because the governor told the police to stand down. Well, that's how you get vigilante justice, okay? What do we as Christians need to do? How do we rein this back in as Christians? Well, we need to be for order. We need to be for a society, and our society is founded on the guiding principles of the country. We're not talking about the old monarchy days of Herod and Caesar. We're not talking about those. We're talking about places and times when we as a society have a Charter of Rights, a Constitution, a guiding principle for the country, and as Christians, we have to stand up for those documents in whatever country we're in. So the Canadian Christians, or the Canadian Trucker for Peace rally, you walk through there, it is not a bunch of racists, it's not a bunch of homophobes, it's not a bunch of white supremacists, it's a bunch of people who want freedom, but the government is hiding from them, trying to use the law to steal the funds that all the people gave to GoFundMe to help support the rally. And that's crazy. But if you watch the live streams, there's people talking about, there's people busting out in prayer. There's a lot of Christian-like things going on in that because people simply want their freedoms. And as Christians, when we stand up for our freedoms, we also will stand up for the freedom to preach the gospel, to love all people, to do what we need to do in whatever circumstance we find ourselves. So should we, if one of these happens to show up in your country, should you follow it? Yes, I think you should. And you should be there and you should stop all bad elements of these things going down. You should be as peaceful. You should love all people. You should pray for people in the midst of it. You should go to these rallies and you should do what you need to do. You need to make your voices heard, and you need to do it for freedom, because when we have the freedom, we can stand on the gospel truth and say, in the name of freedom, I'm going to show you the way and the truth and the life, which is something you do not have the ability to do when the tyrants are in charge. So as a free society and as free Christians, we also need to be looking at software, at applications, at platforms that are not going to silence us because they don't like our viewpoints. These are things we need to do. So let that sink in a little bit. Think about the trucker rallies and what's going on. Look at the live streams of people actually there, and look at what the mainstream media is telling you, and see which one actually is aligning itself with reality. You might be surprised. Anyway, we will leave this here because my battery is about dead, and so I need to get that guy charged up. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a look at the website, ourwalkinchrist.com, and I hope that you enjoy your daily walk in our Lord.